everybody, it's Bean and Bagel. We are a married couple from the Midwest. He's from Michigan and I'm from Minnesota. Together we mostly talk about food on this channel and we post videos once or twice a week. If you'd like to subscribe, we would love to have you. Today we're not talking about food. We are back with another episode in our series going through the Us Journal. And we started doing this to try to tell you guys a little bit more about ourselves and our relationship. And also we just wanted to be able to have something to look back on and kind of document some of these questions because they're pretty fun to go through together.
All right, so we are continuing on page 11, if you're following along. I feel like a pastor. Like,
Turn to page
11. And the first question of the day is, in any relationship, there is always one person who is more in love, true or false?
So I'm going to say false because I don't think that you can say always really about anything when it comes to relationships. I think that there's probably many relationships out there where the two people are equally in love. Of course, there are cases, probably many cases, where there is someone in the relationship that's more in love than the other person, but I think it's kind of harsh to say always, that there's always someone that's more in love, because it's like, how can you really know that? You know, if two people are committed to each other, you can't really say like, oh, they're more in love because of this or that. Like, I don't know. I just think always is a really strong word. So I would say false for that. What do you think?
I think I'm going to say false also because I agree. Always is a big word. You can't.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I think that there can be people who love others more, but I don't think it's always the case in every relationship. Or in any relationship, I guess, as the question says. I do think that there can be people that are more committed or equally committed as well. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think whether you say love or commitment or hate or whatever, like, it's not always the case.
Right. Yep.
So the second one that we're going to do today says, if I had to choose between the two, I'd rather be loved but not in love, or in love but not loved.
So this one's really hard. I kind of struggle with that because I think that I'd rather be loved but not in love, because to me I think more of like kind of that like companionship kind of love. You know, it's not necessarily like these like big romantic in love feelings, but there's just a security and an acceptance in that love. So I think I'd rather have that than actually like being in love if I had to choose. Like, I think of course you always would want both, but like if I had to choose between the two, I think I'd rather be loved but not in love. But it's a tough one.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's really hard. I think I'm going to disagree, though.
What? This will be like our first disagreement on these ones. I think we've agreed on every question so far in the book.
I think I would rather be in love but not loved, and I think there's a couple reasons for it. I would rather just give my all. If I knew, like, I mean, I guess if I knew or didn't know, if someone was going to give their best back to me, I would want to know that I gave my best to them. And so I would have a clearer conscience or whatever in that case. So I feel like I'd rather be in love but not loved. And the other reason is because I'm not the type of person that really gets overly consumed with what everybody thinks about him. I don't get too concerned about, you know, oh, they don't like me or whatever. But I think if I were in like a romantic relationship, obviously that matters. You need to care if that person loves you back, because that also plays a role in the type of person you are in that relationship. Because if you're just completely, I don't care what you think, then you're never gonna like try to change things about yourself so that they continue to love you. Yeah, but also in a sense, like, I think it's interesting because it says loved but not in love, meaning how do you look at the question? Do you look at it as, I would just in general rather be loved and never in a romantic relationship, never be in love with anybody? So it depends on how you look at it, I think, too.
Yeah, I think the question, like, the questions could probably be worded a little bit more clearly, because I feel like they're open to interpretation, but maybe that's the point, like, is to be open to interpretation so you can kind of like discuss it. But like, your answer to me sounds like you want like the lovey-dovey feelings but not the like love part of it, you know?
Kind of. I mean, I'm not a type of person that wants lovey-dovey feelings, I think. I just think I want to know that I gave my all.
Yeah.
And if someone
you don't
else...
need it back necessarily.
Well, I guess
you do, but
it depends, because like if you're married, you obviously need it back, or if you're in any kind of romantic relationship, you need it back. But like, I don't want to live with regret. So for instance, like if I'd have never told you how I felt, I would have rather told you. You know what I mean? Because then otherwise I would be like, oh man, I didn't really risk never being in love because I never shared that, you know, I was in love.
Yeah. I think these questions are interesting because I feel like it kind of shows our personality a little bit with how we're answering, so it's kind of fun.
All right, and the last one is love conquers all, and there's two options. You either think love conquers all absolutely, or don't be ridiculous.
Again, kind of tricky. Like, there's still, with a lot of these questions, I feel like there's a part of me that's like, yes, absolutely, like, love can conquer all. But then, like, I have the realistic part of me that's like, no, don't be ridiculous. Like, because I think, you know, the Beatles talked about it, like, love is all you need and all that. But I don't really see that working out in the real world with human beings. We're all very imperfect and we don't always do our best. So I think that, you know, love doesn't always pay the bills. So you kind of have to have more than love in some ways. You have to have compatibility. You have to have all of those kind of things working together along with the love. Because, yeah, just love, I don't know if you can really make it work in the long term. So I'm going to say, don't be ridiculous.
Mine's easy. It's don't be ridiculous. Love can't conquer all. I believe that love can conquer all if everyone believes that love conquers all. But we don't live in a world where everyone believes that same thing. Because I think if we lived in a world where everyone did believe that, then our work lives would look different. Our family lives would look different. I think, you know, our debts would even look different because our interest rates would be different. You know, all that kind of stuff. Like, we would really have, like, a society and businesses and whatever else that are really garnered around what's best for the other person than what's best for me. And in that world, love can conquer all, I think. But that's not the world we live in, so don't be ridiculous. Because I don't believe that if someone were to, like, for instance, if somebody were to come physically attack me and I love you. I love you. Like, that's not going to conquer that situation. It just won't. Like, at least from the practical, tangible, physical violence against me or whatever.
Right.
But maybe in the long term, my forgiveness and my love towards them, you know, could change them and it could conquer the situation as a whole.
Right.
But I'm still walking out of there with, you know, a black eye or whatever if I just stand there with my hands down and tell them I love them. you can go so much deeper with it than the time
Totally.
we're allowing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just not going to dive that deep into it. But what do you think? You know, like, put it in the comments below. If you agree, disagree, have a different thought, or want to go further with it. We're all ears. But I think that's where we're going to end it today, unless you had more to say.
No, that's good. I mean, I could talk more about that one. Probably we both could talk about it for another hour, but we should probably leave it there. So we'll let you guys go.
All right. See you later.
Bye. Ready? Are you?
I think so.
Did your head itch?
It did. Scratch, scratch, scratch your head. Gently down the noggin.
Merrily, 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 merrily. Scratch that little noggin.
All I do is apple bobbing.